The scream came just as they passed under the rusting iron arch. A thin, broken sound that cut through the still country air like a snapped violin string. Anna jerked in her seat, heart thudding. She turned toward the fields, endless walls of corn that loomed on both sides of the gravel road, stalks yellowing and dry. Something moved in there, or had moved. A tremble that died too quickly. Joel eased his foot off the gas. What the hell was that? Anna didn't answer right away. Her breath hitched. It hadn't sounded like an animal. It sounded human, or at least it had started that way, before turning into something else. Maybe someone's in trouble, she said quietly. Joel squinted at the rows of corn. Probably just a fox. They scream like banshees sometimes. It's not... He stopped short, realizing how pale she looked. Let's just get there, Anna said, her voice small and quiet. The gate behind them creaked shut on its own. Above them, a flaking sign swayed from the arch, Crow Farm. The letters painted in weathered white, now gray and bleeding rust. One of the O's was missing. As the road narrowed into gravel, the car bumped unevenly, stirring up clouds of dust that clung to the air like smoke. The fencing along the property line sagged inward, as if even the land itself was tired. And then the animals appeared. Rows of cows and pigs and goats lined the fence line, perfectly still. They didn't move, didn't graze, didn't blink. They just watched, silent, eerily aligned, their heads turning slowly in unison as the car passed. Joel laughed nervously. I feel like we're driving through a painting. Anna said nothing. Her fingers were buried into the seat cushion, knuckles stiff. Something about the animals' eyes. They weren't glassy or dull like she'd expect. They were alert, focused, aware. Her stomach churned. Joel cracked the window. The air that slipped in was thick and humid, carrying a strange scent. Sweet, but too sweet, like fermenting fruit or sugar left too long in a sealed jar. Underneath it, something metallic. There's something wrong here, Anna whispered. Joel gave her a look. What do you mean? I don't know. It just feels wrong. Doesn't it feel wrong to you? He shrugged. It's just old country farmland. It's not supposed to feel like a resort. But Anna wasn't so sure. The road narrowed again, weaving past a crooked wooden post where dozens of sun-bleached crows hung by twine, their bodies shriveled and hard as driftwood. Their beaks were open, their eyes had been removed. She gripped Joel's arm. Do you see that? He looked, winced. Jesus. Why would someone hang them like that? Anna whispered. For what? Joel didn't answer. He drove faster. The farmhouse emerged from behind a patch of dying oaks, its structure looming with tired dignity. Weather-worn and sun-bleached, the 3-story building leaned slightly westward, like it had been resisting collapse for a century. Shutters hung crooked, paint peeled in long curling strips, revealing discolored wood beneath. The front porch was a skeleton of itself, planks warped, posts bowing outward. Hanging flower pots lined the porch railings, but the plants were withered and black. One pot still swayed, though there was no wind. 2 figures stood atop the steps, still, watching, Ezra and Mabel Crow. Joel slowed to a stop, gravel crunching beneath the tires. Anna stared at the couple. Ezra was tall, almost too tall. His posture was impossibly straight, stiff as a scarecrow. White hair framed a face the color of paper, all sharp angles, and a smile too wide for his features. His eyes were a faded blue, so pale they nearly vanished into the whites. Mabel stood beside him, smaller and heavier, a pale blue dress tight across her middle. Her apron was stained, not with flour or grease, but something darker, rust red and dried. She held a ceramic bowl in her hands, clutching it like a relic. Anna's pulse thudded in her ears. She couldn't explain it, but something about the crows made her skin crawl. They weren't doing anything wrong. They were smiling after all. but it felt like watching mannequins pretend to be human. "Welcome," Mabel called, her voice syrupy and sweet. "We've been expecting you." Anna stepped out of the car slowly. The moment her foot touched the ground, she felt it. The weight, a pressure in the soil, a quiet hum beneath her soles like the earth was breathing. She swallowed hard. Mabel hurried forward and took Anna's hands. Her skin was ice cold and too dry, like brittle paper. "My goodness, you're just as lovely as your photo," Mabel said. "We're so pleased to have you here." Anna forced a smile. Thank you for having us." Joel shook Ezra's hand. The old man's grip was like a dried tendon. When he smiled, his teeth were impossibly white. "We've got your little cottage all set," Ezra said. "It's cozy, quiet, no interruptions." "Closest neighbors are 20 acres away," Mabel added. "You'll feel right at home." Anna's eyes drifted toward the barn. Its door was cracked open just an inch. Inside, something shifted, slow, heavy. Ezra noticed her stare. "You'll get to know the land soon enough. It's got a rhythm, you'll see." As they followed the crows toward the cottage, Anna glanced back at the fields. A scarecrow stood just beyond the edge of the corn, tall and bent, its burlap face stitched with 2 hollow eyes. It hadn't been there 5 minutes ago. Anna froze. The scarecrow's head tilted slightly, too fluidly. Its empty sockets seemed to find her. Her stomach flipped. "Joel," she whispered, but he didn't hear. Mabel was already unlocking the cottage door and chattering about linens and fresh milk deliveries. Anna lingered a moment longer, staring at the thing in the field. No mouth, no movement, but in her head, clear as day, she heard it. "Run." Anna didn't sleep that night. She lay awake, staring at the low ceiling of the cottage bedroom, her body wrapped tightly in the old wool blanket that smelled faintly of mildew and something older. Joel's breathing was slow beside her, but even in his sleep, his brows were drawn tight. Every so often, she heard it again, that distant rustling, the sound of something large brushing through dry stalks. It came in waves, paused, returned. Each time, it seemed closer. Sometime past 3 a.m., she got up and crept to the window. The moonlight bathed the fields in pale silver. Corn rows stretched outward in rigid lines, unmoving in the windless dark. The scarecrow still stood at the edge of the field, unchanged, watching, but she could feel it. Something else was out there. She stared at the rows of corn until her vision blurred. That's when she saw it, movement just beyond the 3rd row. A subtle shift, not wind, not an animal, something standing, staring back. She blinked and it was gone. In the morning, Joel insisted they start helping on the farm, as agreed. "Look, I know you're freaked out," he said gently, rinsing out 2 chipped coffee mugs. "But we can't afford to back out on day 1. It's just a few chores. Feed a few animals, fix a fence." Anna nodded, but didn't meet his eyes. She didn't mention the figure in the corn, or the whisper that seemed to crawl beneath her skin. Outside, the air was warm, damp. The dirt smelled metallic. Mabel handed Anna a bucket of slop that reeked of spoiled meat. "Pigs'll eat anything," she said with a smile that showed too many teeth, even bones. Anna laughed awkwardly, thinking it was a joke. Mabel didn't blink. Ezra had Joel mending fence posts near the edge of the east field. The corn rows rustled nearby even without wind. Joel didn't notice, but Anna kept looking toward the edge. That's when she saw one of the pigs. It stood away from the others, head tilted, watching her. Its eyes were wide and strangely wet, more human than animal. Its back was scarred, deep ridges that almost looked like old writing. It didn't move, not even when she approached. The others were different too. She noticed it more and more. One limped in a way that seemed unnatural, like it wasn't built for 4 legs. Another's jaw hung crooked, teeth exposed, wrong teeth, too flat, too human. Anna's stomach turned. She found Joel later that evening, shirtless and sweating in the barn. "These animals," she said quietly, "they don't feel right." He laughed. "You've been around too many city pets. Farm animals are rough, ugly. That's just life out here." But as he spoke, one of the cows leaned against the fence behind him. Anna watched its tongue slowly lick the post. Its eyes, milky, almost blind, locked onto hers. It blinked. She looked away. That night, Joel was out cold the second his head hit the pillow. Anna lay beside him, frozen in that half-sleep space where the world feels wrong and the air too loud. At 1:13 a.m., she heard it again, rustling. Then a knock. 3 short knocks. She bolted upright. Joel didn't stir. Another knock. Soft, deliberate. It wasn't the front door. It was the window. Her chest tightened. She crept from bed, heartbeat in her throat. The knock came again. Just once this time. A single, final tap. She reached the curtain with shaking fingers, pulled it back. The scarecrow was gone. The field was empty. No wind. Then her eyes dropped, and she froze. There, at the bottom of the window, low to the ground, something was crouching, just beyond the glass. Pressed against it, 2 eyes stared back, wide, wet, glassy, inhuman in shape, human in expression. The thing smiled, lips pulled too far back, and then it was gone. She screamed. Joel shot upright, wild-eyed. What is it?" She couldn't speak, she just pointed. The window was empty. Later, when he had calmed her down, Joel turned all the lights on in the cottage. He checked every window, every door. Nothing. "You probably dreamed it," he said, rubbing her back. But Anna didn't answer. Her eyes had locked onto something behind the couch, half hidden beneath the old throw rug. She stepped forward, knelt, and pulled it free. A small leather-bound book. The cover was brittle, flaking. Inside, yellowing pages in frantic handwriting. Clara Ann Bell, March 1964. "Something wrong with the animals. They whisper, they stare. Mabel said the land feeds us, but I think it's the other way around. He came back last night. Not my brother anymore. He looked like him, but he screamed like a pig." Anna's breath caught in her throat. Outside, the wind finally picked up, but it didn't move the corn. Joel sat at the kitchen table with the journal laid out before him, slowly flipping through the fragile pages. His jaw was tight, eyes darting over the handwriting. Anna stood at the counter, arms crossed tightly. "This could be anything," he said. "Some old tenant with mental issues. You know how isolation messes with people." "Joel, that doesn't explain the animals. Or last night." He hesitated. Anna stepped forward. "You believe me, don't you?" He didn't answer immediately. "I saw something, Joel. There was something outside the window. It wasn't a dream. It smiled at me." Joel dragged a hand through his hair and stood, pacing the small room. "I didn't sleep either," he muttered. "I kept hearing things. At first I thought it was wind, but it was rhythmic, almost like footsteps." He paused at the window, stared out into the dark. "Then I saw the barn light flicker, just once, like someone was in there." Anna stepped closer. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because this place is messing with my head, and I didn't want to feed into it." He turned to her, face pale. "But something's not right here, Anna. I keep waking up with this feeling like I'm being watched, like something's in the walls." Anna swallowed hard. "It's not just you." Joel looked back at the journal. His hands trembled slightly. "We need to figure out who Clara Bell was, and why this was hidden, if she was warning someone." His voice trailed off. Then, quietly, "What if the crows aren't what they seem?" Silence settled like dust. Outside, a soft knock echoed on the far side of the house. Not the door, the barn. Both of them turned to the window, frozen. The knock came again, then a sound like shuffling hooves in the dirt, dragging. Joel reached for the fireplace poker, jaw clenched. Anna didn't breathe. Somewhere deep in the corn, a low moan rose into the air, long, wet, and mournful. It didn't sound like any animal they had ever heard. The next morning began with silence, a heavy, suffocating kind that settled over the farm like fog. No wind, no birds, even the insects seemed to have vanished overnight. Anna stood at the sink, hands wrapped around a chipped teacup, staring out the window toward the barn. It looked different in daylight, still wrong, still too still, but veiled in a false calm that made her skin crawl even more. Joel shuffled into the kitchen, rubbing his eyes. "Did you sleep at all?" Anna shook her head. "Me neither," he muttered. They didn't speak again as they dressed and stepped outside. The moment they crossed the porch, a crow called once, sharp and solitary from the weather vane. Just one note, like a warning. The air was thick with that same sickly sweet scent Anna couldn't name. It clung to her clothes, her skin, like rot hidden beneath roses. Ezra met them near the chicken coop. He wore the same clothes as yesterday, possibly the same as the day before. His shirt was speckled with faint brown stains that didn't look like mud. "Henhouse needs tending," he said, smiling thinly. "Fresh eggs should be waiting." Mabel stood behind him in the garden, elbow deep in the soil with no tools, just her bare hands, digging, digging, digging. She didn't look up. Anna approached the coop slowly. The chickens were quiet, too quiet. No clucking, no flapping. They huddled in corners, eyes alert, heads twitching in unison, watching her. She opened the nest box lid and reached inside. Her fingers brushed something warm. She pulled it out. An egg, pale brown, smooth, still damp from the nest. Another, and then the fourth. She stopped. This one felt wrong, thicker, warmer. She stared at it in her palm, noticing a faint pulse beneath the shell. It moved. "Joel," she said quietly, "come here." He walked over, squinting at her hand. And then the egg cracked. A fine hairline fracture crawled across the shell like lightning. Joel took a step back. The crack widened. A thick red liquid oozed out, not clear like yolk. Red. Anna dropped it instinctively. It hit the dirt and burst open. Inside, tangled in shredded membrane, was a small pink thing, a curled hand, human. Joel recoiled. "Oh my God!" Anna stared, frozen. Her legs wouldn't move. Her brain couldn't catch up. But there it was, a tiny human hand, 5 perfect fingers, pale as bone, twitching slightly before going still. Behind them, one of the chickens made a noise, not a cluck. A giggle. Joel grabbed Anna by the wrist. "We're not staying here another night." They ran, past the silent cows, past the grinning scarecrow whose arms seemed higher than yesterday, toward the cottage. Mabel's head slowly turned as they passed, still digging, fingers caked with soil and something darker. "Everything okay, dears?" she asked sweetly. Neither answered. Inside the cottage, Joel locked the door, slid the deadbolt, pulled the curtains shut. The journal was still on the kitchen table. Anna flipped to the last used page. April 2nd. The baby didn't cry when it came out of the hen. It smiled. She turned the page. April 6th. Ezra says they were chosen, that the old blood runs through the soil now, that people make better animals than animals ever did. Joel backed away. "I want to leave, tonight, right now," he said. "We drive until we find someone, police, a gas station, anyone." Anna opened the drawer where they kept the car keys, empty. They searched the entire house, nothing. Not in the coat pockets, not under the rug, not on the hook where Joel swore he hung them. "They took them," Anna whispered. "They took the keys." Joel stood frozen in the center of the room, breathing heavy. And then he noticed the stain on the ceiling, a thin, dark smear that hadn't been there yesterday. It dripped slowly, steady as a heartbeat, into a shallow puddle forming on the floorboards. He craned his neck. The drip was coming from the crawl space attic above the bedroom. Joel grabbed the stepladder, climbed, pushed open the panel. Darkness, dust, and something else. He reached up with the flashlight. The beam landed on a pile of clothing, children's clothes, old, molded, some shredded, then eyes. Hundreds of them, tiny, black, blinking eyes. The chickens, dead chickens. Dozens of them, arranged in a perfect spiral, their heads all turned inward, facing the center where a small, twisted doll sat in a pool of dried blood. Joel dropped the flashlight. It bounced down the ladder and landed at Anna's feet. Silence, and then a voice. Ezra, muffled, just outside the front door. You two really should have stayed in the city. A soft scratching followed. Then a snort. Wet, guttural, more of them, something dragging across the porch, something with hooves. They didn't run at first. For a few seconds, Anna and Joel stood frozen in the cottage's kitchen, staring at the front door. Ezra's shadow shifted against the gap under the frame, thick-soled boots, unmoving. The handle turned once, slowly, like a whispered warning. Then came the sound again. Snorting, wet, close. A long, dragging scrape moved along the porch. Hooves, or something like hooves, scratching the wood as if testing it. Something large exhaled, snuffling at the door like a predator catching the scent of a wound. Anna whispered, "Back door, now!" They bolted. Out the rear door, past the rusted water pump, barefoot across the dirt. The world had changed. The trees leaned closer. The field seemed to breathe. Cornstalks twisted unnaturally as they passed. "We need the car," Joel gasped. "Even if it's dead, we'll hide in it." "No," Anna hissed. "They'll trap us there." She pointed to the barn. "The loft. We can see everything from up there. Wait until sunrise." Joel hesitated, then nodded. They slipped inside. The barn was dark, thick with the sour stench of hay, animal musk, and something chemical, something that bit at the back of the throat like ammonia and copper. Anna climbed the ladder first. Joel followed, carefully pulling it up behind them once they reached the loft. Silence. Only their breathing and the occasional twitch of rope swinging beneath them. But the barn wasn't empty. Anna noticed first a soft shuffling, then a grunt, low and animal but deliberate. Thinking, below them, between the slats of the loft, shadows moved. A pig walked through the center of the barn, but it didn't move like a pig. It walked upright. Its front limbs were bent like arms. The way its hooves dragged across the hay made Anna feel sick. It stopped directly below them and spoke, just 2 words in a voice that sounded wet and broken. "Help me?" Joel gasped, and the pig's head snapped upward. Its eyes were milky white, human white. It was crying. And then the door creaked open. Ezra stepped in. He was humming, a tune that sounded old, a lullaby for the damned. Behind him, Mabel entered slowly, holding something wrapped in cloth. The cloth twitched. Anna pressed her hand over her mouth. "Bring the gift, Mabel," Ezra said. "Sunrise soon. We need the vessel prepared." Joel reached for Anna's hand, but she pulled away, eyes locked downward. More animals entered. A cow with a twisted spine, a dog with 1 leg too many, a sheep that bled from its ears with every step. All watching, waiting. Ezra approached the pig. "You wandered again, didn't you, Jonah?" he said softly, like scolding a child. "You know better. Your sister's waiting." He knelt. The pig trembled. Ezra placed his hand on its head. "It's almost time." And with that, he drove a knife, small, curved, and black, into the pig's neck. Joel jerked back, knocking over a metal hook. It clanged. Silence. Ezra's head turned upward, eyes narrowing. "I smell fear." Anna backed away from the slats, trembling. Mabel tilted her head slowly, sniffed. "They're here," she whispered. "In the loft." Ezra smiled. "Well, I was hoping they'd stay." He started climbing the ladder. Joel panicked. He pulled Anna toward the far end of the loft, where a narrow hay chute led down into the side stall. "We jump. Now." She nodded. He went first, disappearing into the chute with a thud. Anna followed, crawling into the narrow shaft. Just as she dropped down, she heard Ezra's voice behind her. "We only needed one of you." They hit the dirt floor running. The stall was filled with cages, dozens of them, cramped and stacked. At first, she thought they held animals. Then she saw the hands, human fingers clutching the wire, twisted faces, eyes hollow, vacant. They weren't dead, not yet. One of them whispered, "Help us before we forget." Joel kicked open the side door, and they sprinted into the cornfield. Rows upon rows of dry, whispering stalks swallowed them. Behind them, howls began. Not human, not animal, something in between. Anna and Joel ducked low, moving through the thick rows, the stalks slicing their arms. They didn't know where they were going, just away, but the corn didn't end. Every turn looked the same. And then, a clearing. In the center stood the scarecrow, but it wasn't made of straw anymore. It had arms, real ones, human, bruised and bound to the cross. The face was sewn in place, lips stretched in a grotesque smile. It breathed, and from its mouth a voice escaped. "Welcome home, Anna." She staggered back. Joel turned and saw the truth. The corn wasn't growing from the soil. It grew from bodies, half buried, arms and legs protruding, mouths stuffed with husks. The field was fed. Suddenly, Joel screamed. A hand burst from the soil, clutching his ankle. Another grabbed his shoulder. Faces rose from the dirt, once human, now bloated and gray, eyes full of sorrow. "No!" Anna screamed. She grabbed him, pulled, but they were too many. Joel was dragged down into the field, swallowed by the roots. Anna? Gone. Only his boot remained. She fell to her knees, sobbing, surrounded by the corn, and then softly behind her. Footsteps, Mabel, calm, smiling. "We didn't lie," she said. "We do offer shelter." Ezra stepped beside her. "Just not the kind you walk away from." Anna tried to run, but the roots moved, and the corn whispered her name. Anna didn't remember running. Her legs moved blindly, slashing through the corn until the rows gave way to something colder, older, a patch of dead soil that reeked of sulfur and old blood. She collapsed near a warped tree stump, its bark blackened and split. Beneath it, an old wooden trapdoor yawned open, as if it had been waiting for her. She heard no footsteps behind her, no voices, no wind, only the low, wet hum of something ancient stirring underground. Her hands moved without thinking. She descended. The passage twisted in impossible ways. Roots gripped the walls like veins. The floor squelched with each step. Her candle, plucked from a rusted sconce near the barn, flickered weakly, barely lighting the narrow earthen tunnel. The deeper she went, the more wrong everything felt. Whispers slithered past her ears, soft, familiar. "Anna." She turned. Nothing there. A low chant rose from the darkness below. Not in English, not any human tongue. The tunnel opened suddenly. She stepped into a vast underground chamber, lit by hundreds of wax-dripping candles. The walls were covered in carvings, hybrid creatures, half human, half beast, trapped mid-transformation, symbols twisted like living things. At the center of the room, surrounded by a perfect circle of ash and blood, stood Ezra and Mabel, and beside them, a figure on all fours. Hairless, skin slick and bruised, muzzled, it raised its head slowly. Joel, still human, not gone, but barely, his eyes met hers, and in that moment Anna knew. He was alive, but not for long. Mabel turned. "You came just in time," she cooed. "The harvest isn't complete without the final bond." Anna backed away, but the circle pulled at her. The symbols on the floor twisted, whispering, begging. Ezra held a book bound in hide. The pages fluttered on their own. Joel was always meant to be the vessel, he said, but the sacrifice, the gift, must come from love. Anna screamed and ran, but the tunnel had closed behind her. The roots had grown together, sealing her in. Mabel took a step forward, holding something in her hands, a knife, long and silver, crusted with red. "We won't kill him," she said. "You will." Anna was thrown to the ground, dragged across the circle's edge. The ash hissed beneath her. Joel crawled toward her, shaking his head violently, his limbs twitching between man and beast. "No, no, no," she sobbed. "Don't make me." Ezra raised the book. The chanting grew louder. The walls pulsed. Joel's mouth opened. A gurgling sound emerged, not quite a scream, not quite human. Mabel offered her the blade. Anna stared at it. Her hands trembled. "Do it," Ezra whispered, "and he'll be reborn." She took the knife, stood. Joel knelt in front of her, eyes pleading. One cut would end it. One cut would doom him. One cut would set them both free. She raised the blade and turned it into Ezra. The knife plunged deep. His mouth opened in surprise, not pain, shock. The circle split. The symbols screamed. Mabel shrieked as the roots recoiled violently, lashing across the room, toppling candles. The chamber shook. The floor cracked beneath their feet. Joel collapsed. Anna crawled to him, clutching his face. "Joel, Joel, come back to me." His body twitched, jerked, convulsed, and then silence. Sunrise. The fields of the farm were still. No sign of Ezra, no trace of Mabel, the house, the barn. Gone. Anna wandered, dazed, barefoot, until she found the old dirt road. She walked and walked and walked until headlights pierced the horizon. A pickup truck skidded to a stop beside her. A farmer stepped out, wide-eyed. "Are you okay, miss? You're covered in blood. What happened out there?" Anna turned, hollow-eyed. "I don't know." 3 weeks later, a hospital bed, sterile, white. Anna sat beside it. Joel's body lay still, bruised, barely breathing. His limbs hadn't fully returned. His skin still shimmered faintly in the dark. But he was alive. She held his hand tightly. "You're coming back to me," she whispered. And for a second, his fingers curled around hers. A man walks into a rural animal shelter 3 towns over. He's thin, pale, mud still under his fingernails, doesn't remember his name, says he woke up near a dead field with only one word in his mouth. Anna. The shelter takes him in. They call the authorities. But that night, under a full moon, he doesn't sleep. Instead, he stares into the mirror, and behind his eyes, something twitches, something old, something waiting.